We begin this hour with another deadly mass shooting in America, this time at a block party in Baltimore. 2 people were killed and 28 more injured. At least 14 of those hurt were minors. Police are still looking for suspects. They think there was more than one shooter. Baltimore's Mayor Brandon Scott vowed investigators would not stop until the perpetrators are caught. Mayor Scott joins us now from the city of Baltimore. Mr. Mayor, good morning. Good to see you. And I'm curious if you can give us the latest on the investigation.
Well, the latest is that we are still looking for those who cowardly decided to disrupt a block party in Brooklyn and murder 2 people and injure 28 others and cause trauma to so many others that live in that community and that were at the event, and that we are not going to stop until we find them and hold them accountable. But we're not just going to stop at them. We're going to try to find out who sold the gun, who trafficked that gun into Baltimore, and hold everybody on the chain responsible, because that's what we need to start doing in this country.
Mr. Mayor, you mentioned this was at a block party over a holiday weekend, and some of the victims were as young as 13. Do we know if this was a targeted shooting?
We don't know. We don't know, and that will come out in the investigation. But I think what's important for folks, especially those like you in the national media, to know that now what you're seeing across this country, this is not the 1990s. You are seeing people shoot and hurt and kill each other over just basic conflict. We don't know that that's what happened, but that's what the leading cause of shootings in our city is over and over again, is basic conflict. And we know that we can resolve conflict in a better way, but we have to have the conversation again about another mass shooting in this country. And we're talking about still inaction at the national level. We here in Maryland have the best federal congressional delegation, but we need all of Congress to get on board and enact real gun law changes to prevent folks who shouldn't have them to being able to have that access. It should not be easier for a young person to go online and order a ghost gun than it is for me to get some Claritin D from my local neighborhood pharmacy.
Well, let's talk about what the city of Baltimore is dealing with. Amongst the highest murder rates in the U.S., 300 homicides in Baltimore every year since 2015, an understaffed police department. Do you have a police department that has the ability to tackle this?
Well, listen, I think this is another misconception in this country. Anybody that tells you that reducing homicides and shootings in a community is solely on the backs of police officers doesn't know what they're talking about. We have to understand that they have a job, and we're going to empower them to do that. Even with this mass shooting and this incident that we have, Baltimore is seeing a 20% reduction in homicides year over year, and even a reduction in non-fatal shootings, even with this shooting. We have recovered over 1,300 weapons, but it's not just about the great women and men of BPD who are doing that work through reform, through a consent decree, but it's also about the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, our Safe Streets violence intervention workers, folks like community organizations like We Are Us, people that are doing the behavioral health work that we have, our hospital-based violence responders, the trauma work, those who work at recreation and parks. Everybody that works for city government, every community partner, every organization, every religious organization plays a part in reducing violence. This country has for far too long put that all on the backs of police officers. We can no longer do that. We have to allow them to do their job and focus their job, which it should be on people that are shooting and killing people and trafficking weapons, removing mental health, behavioral health off of their plate, and allowing people who are trained to do that. We're going to continue to do that work in its entirety here in Baltimore. We're going to continue to recruit police officers, but we're also going to continue to demand, like all my brother and sister mayors around the country, for Congress to get serious and do something like they said they would way back in 1999 when Columbine happened, and nothing has changed since.
Mr. Mayor, you and I spoke back in early 2021, and at the time, it was just after you took office, and I said, why did you want to be mayor? And you told me in part, I'm a Baltimore boy, and when you grow up in a neighborhood that the world descends on for a horse race named Preakness, and every other day of the year you're not seen as human by your own city government, it changes you. And you recalled how you yourself had seen a shooting before the age of 10. And you said, quote, you make a decision on, do you want to accept that, or do you want to do something to change it? And I'm just wondering, in the year and a half or so since, 2.5 years since, do you think you've done enough to change your city and to make sure that other kids under the age of 10 aren't seeing this kind of violence?
Well, every day I want to do more, right? Yes, we've made a lot of changes in the way that we invest, record numbers of investments into our schools, open up 5 recreation centers, 5 more that are going to be built, including one 3 minutes walking distance from where this shooting happened. But we have more work to do, and every day I want myself to be better because I know that this is something that has been happening in my city longer than I've been breathing air, longer than my parents have been even in Baltimore City, right? But we have to do that work each and every day. It starts with me, but everyone has to do that thing of looking in the mirror and saying, what can they do as well? So I'm going to always challenge myself to do more. How can I be better for all of my residents in Baltimore, starting with our young people and our older adults, and making sure that we're doing everything in our power there. We will not stop. I will not stop. As long as there's breath in my body, I'm going to do what I can do to make Baltimore better. That's why we make those historic levels of investment. That's why we've changed the way we deal with public safety, thinking about the totality of those incidents as well.
Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us and talking about it. We'll talk about it again soon because this isn't something that ends with just this shooting. As you said, it's a long problem.
Absolutely.